are live. Welcome back to another edition of Earle Sports Bets. And Tim, we've made it! The final show of 2023 MLB season previews. And we're up to the 2023 World Series champions right here. The New York Mets, the one we've all been waiting for, the one everybody's been waiting for, probably the one we're going to get the most views on because people are going to want to rip on our Mets. But beyond that, we'll take a look back at what they did last year and then what they did in the offseason and what we can expect from them this season. Last year, they finished with a 101-61 record. They finished tied for the top of the National League East with the Atlanta Braves. They did fall in the wild card series 2-1 to the San Diego Padres. So overall, a disappointing year when all things considered, I think. But at the end of the day, I remember Steve Cohen when he first took over the team. That was year 2 of Steve Cohen. He said by year 3-4, this team is going to be competing for a World Series, and I thought they were a year ahead last year. So overall, I expect this team to be competitive.
Yep.
And we do already have a chat. No DeGrom. Yes. Who cares?
Yeah.
The guy pitched 5 games last year. Okay. Like that doesn't bother me as much as probably a lot of Mets fans.
When the hell did we get Dylan Bundy?
Oh, just a couple days ago.
Wow.
Additions, re-signings, and subtractions. They re-signed Edwin Diaz. Unfortunately, he's not going to be playing this year because he got hurt in a meaningless baseball game. Brandon Nimmo, they re-signed him. I love that. Justin Verlander, he's going to be the opening. Oh, no, Scherzer is the opening day starter. Right. Jose Quintana, who's already hurt. We're off to a great start. David Robertson, who's going to be the new closer for Edwin Diaz. Omar Narvaez, who's miles ahead of James McCann because anything other than James McCann is better than James McCann. Kodai Senga, one of the bigger international pickups in the offseason. Adam Ottavino re-signed. I loved him in the back of the bullpen. Nice little bench bat here with Tommy Pham. Jeff McNeil, they re-signed as well. And, of course, Dylan Bundy to a minor league deal. Their subtractions, Seth Lugo, who will be the number 5 starter in San Diego. Chris Bassett, who is now in Toronto. Trevor Williams, who's now in Washington. Joely Rodriguez, which I forgot where he went. Trevor May, who is now in Oakland. Jacob deGrom, who's in Texas. Taijuan Walker, who's in Philly. Mikael Givens, which I believe he's back in Baltimore. I'm not 100% sure, though. Jordan Yamamoto, I think, went to go play in Japan. Dom Smith has went to the Nationals. And Darren Ruff can fuck off. He got DFA'd, and he was trash. I mean, that was a terrible experiment. And they gave up JD Davis for him, which now looking back at it was an awful deal. So I'm glad Dylan Ruff is gone. He was trash. Cool. Overall, this team lost a lot in the offseason, obviously. They lost a lot of starting pitching. They lost 3/5 of their starting rotation last year with DeGrom, Walker, and Bassett. And they replaced it with Verlander, Senga, and, Quintana, but now it's going to be Robertson. So, honestly, and looking at it, people are going to look at it, oh, wow, they just lost the best pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom. He pitched 5 games last year, I believe 5 or 6 games last year. And I think
I think he pitched more than 5 games, though.
He didn't pitch much, but,
8 or 9 games, actually.
8 games. So, wow. Okay. I like the Justin Verlander edition better. If this is a win now team, we don't need to sign DeGrom for 5 years so he can play for 2 years and then be hurt the rest of his career because this guy's been injury prone and I can't remember the last time he played a full season. Overall, I think the additions are nice. I like the addition of Kodai Senga. Yes. I think that's a really strong addition for the Mets because
it's an interesting project.
Of the season, I
think it's a good project.
He's a great project with some filthy pitches. He throws up in the 102 range. He has a ghost ball, which batters say disappear out of the hand. He's one of the highly touted international pickups of the offseason. And I love re-signing Brandon Nimmo. He's just that pest at the top of the lineup. He'll walk a lot. He'll get on base. He's the reason why I believe the Mets led the league last year in forcing starting pitchers to throw at least 20 pitches. This is a team that was a pain in the ass to pitch against. I will miss Bassett. He was somebody who ate up innings last year. And Toronto, you will probably enjoy having him this year because he's somebody you can rely on to go out there and throw 6-7 innings every single start, every 5 days. He was the most reliable pitcher for the Mets last year when it came to just being there once every 5 days. So definitely someone I'll miss there. Tayshaun Walker, he's good for the first half, and then he falls off usually in the second half of the year. I will miss Trevor May in the back of that bullpen. I like Trevor May. Just his personality as well as he's a decent pitcher. Seth Lugo is somebody, long relief guy, where I think he may struggle as a starting pitcher. Remember we saw him as a starting pitcher early in his career.
Yeah.
And there was a reason why they moved him to the bullpen because he was better in that role. So probably San Diego will learn to put him in their bullpen. Probably been midway through the season. Overall, I think this team about stayed the same. I still think this is a 100-win baseball team. I think they're about the same.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how some of these pieces work out. Obviously, Verlander. I think I would much rather have Verlander over DeGrom right now, especially with the contracts that they got. With the contracts that they got, give me Verlander over DeGrom because I'd rather pay a guy for 2 years than for 5.
Yes.
Especially with the condition of what DeGrom is in, and we don't know whether or not he'll be fully good to go the entire year.
Knowing the Mets, he's going to make 25 starts and go 23-2 this year with a 1.78 ERA for the Rangers.
Probably. Quintana is going to be a nice midseason pickup. Robertson, I'm excited to see him in the back of the bullpen. Kalai Senga, I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about Senga. I think he's going to be a pitcher to back in the beginning of the year until people figure him out. Omar Narvaez, anything's better than freaking James McCann. Ottavino, solid. Pham, solid. McNeil, batting title champion last year. I could see him having another big year. Bundy, I don't really care. Lugo and Bassett are going to be tough to replace along with Walker for the first half of the year. Williams was solid last year. Joely Rodriguez was solid last year. May was solid. Michael Givens was okay. I forgot Yamamoto was a Met. Dom Smith struggled, and Darren Ruff, as you said, can fuck off. I'm happy he's gone. That was a big mistake by the Mets in that acquiring him. It's interesting to see what's going to go on. It's a big change, so we'll see how this team adapts.
Yeah, I think also one name I forgot to put in the subtractions as well is Tyler Naquin. Yeah. And one more thing I want to touch on before we head on to the next slide here with Omar Narvaez there. I think he's one of the better pickups of the offseason because I think he's a sneaky little bridge to allow Alvarez to develop more, which will bring us into the farm system here. Four top 100 prospects. By the way, we'll quickly, I like that. Verlander, yeah. The comment of the day. Lessons learned of the offseason: do not play in meaningless international competitions. 100% agree. And then trumpets afterwards. Yeah. So Francisco Alvarez is the number 3 prospect in all of baseball. Brett Beatty is the number 21 prospect in all of baseball. They will start the year in the minor leagues. Also, Mark Vientos is not part of this list. He's not in the top 100, but he is also going to be starting the year in the minor leagues. Expect all 3 of them to be up with the Mets sometime this season. Alex Ramirez will be up next season. And Kevin Parada, I don't think is going to play a single game with the New York Mets. When you look at Ramirez and when you look at Parada, I look at them less as prospects and more as trade pieces. Because Parada was a first-round draft pick out of Georgia Tech last year. Highly touted prospect. Don't know why they needed to draft another catcher when they had Alvarez in the system. He's your franchise catcher going forward, I think, after Narvaez bridges on him so he can get a little bit more development in the minor leagues. But overall, I look forward to seeing Beatty. I look forward to seeing Alvarez, and I look forward to seeing Vientos on the Mets this year. Don't think Ramirez or Parada are going to be a Met at any time. I think that they're going to be trade pieces at the deadline when the Mets are trying to go out and get another bullpen arm or get another starting pitcher or get another bat in the middle of the lineup. I think that those are guys that they'll probably look to do.
I agree. I think that's what you're going to end up seeing out of that is those will be trade pieces 100%. Alvarez, Beatty, and Vientos should all be up this year at some point or another. So we'll see how they do in the majors. I know had a struggle in spring training. Alvarez. Brett Beatty had a fantastic spring training. But this is a couple of prospects, solid prospects, but not really big prospect person. So we'll see.
Yeah, which will move us into their starting lineup, starting rotation, and bullpen here. Brandon Nimmo, Sterling Marte, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Mark Canha, Daniel Vogelbach, a.k.a. Big Sexy 2.0, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Omar Narvaez. Their starting rotation is Max Scherzer. Yes, you're reading this right. David Peterson is the number 2 starter. Justin Verlander, Kodai Senga, Carlos Carrasco. In their bullpen, Dennis Santana, Steven Nosek, Tommy Hunter, John Curtis, Drew Smith, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, and David Robertson. This lineup is deep. When you have Eduardo Escobar hitting 8th, Vogelbach hitting 7th, that's pretty strong. I really like that middle of the order. I mean, the top of the order are just pests that get on base a lot. Nimmo and Marte, Lindor, Alonso are 2 big power hitters in the middle of the lineup. You could probably even put McNeil at the top of that order, or number 2. You can move around any of those top 5 hitters, and it'll make sense, honestly. Other than maybe Lindor, or other than Alonso hitting leadoff, you can probably make sense in putting any of those top 5 hitters in any of those slots, other than maybe McNeil hitting cleanup. But like stuff like that. Like Mark Canha, he was one of my favorite additions last offseason. He's a professional hitter. He's just somebody who gets hit by the pitch a lot as well. I believe he led the majors last year in hit batsmen. Vogelbach, you can never go wrong with Daniel Vogelbach. Please steal a base this year, please. No. And Narvaez is, once again, I said he's the bridge. Don't expect too much from him, but he's better than James McCann. As for the rotation, this rotation could be one of the best in baseball if it stays healthy all year. Scherzer, awesome. Don't sleep on Peterson. Please don't sleep on Peterson. I think he's going to have a very sneaky year this year. And he's somebody where I'm probably going to be betting on him an awful lot because he's probably one of the only pitchers on the Mets where you're not going to have to lay a massive amount of chalk to back. Verlander's Verlander. Can't go wrong with the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner, Kodai Senga. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, at least for the first few months before the league has a book on him. And after that, I think he'll still be fine. And when you have Carlos Carrasco as your 5 starter, I think that's very good. As for the bullpen, the front end of the bullpen kind of has me a little shaky. But with that being said, I like Brooks Raley. I think he's an up-and-coming prospect. Adam Ottavino and David Robertson, I really like that back end. Of course, I wish Edwin Diaz was in the closing role, but unfortunately, World Baseball Classic took that away from us. But yeah, overall, this team is awesome. And I'm not just saying that as a fan. I really like this roster. I think it's a strong roster, strong lineup, strong rotation. Bullpen can use a little bit more improvements. Maybe they go out and make a deal at the trade deadline for a couple pitchers, for a couple bullpen arms. But other than that, I think this team's going to be strong.
Quintana, that was the guy. I was trying to think of what we're missing in the rotation. It's Quintana. No, this lineup's solid. Let's not forget the Mets were number 5 in runs scored last year, behind the Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, and Blue Jays. They scored 772 runs. So their offense is solid. Nimmo, I am super excited Nimmo is back. And they're back pretty much for life. Marte is a solid hitter to have up there. Professional hitter. If we had him in the wild card, could have been a lot different. Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, solid 3, 4, 5. Canha gets on base. I like him. I mean, you can't go wrong with Danny Burgers. Escobar, professional hitter. I can't wait until Brett Beatty replaces him. And then Omar Narvaez. Anything's better than
until Alvarez replaces him.
Yeah. Rotation, Scherzer and Verlander. Love that 1-2. I don't care their age. We just saw Verlander pitch a Cy Young year after a Tommy John surgery. This guy's a different human being altogether. Max Scherzer is getting up there. Both of them are getting up there, I know. But these are you look at Verlander. He missed 2 starts last year, and that was after the Houston Astros clinched. They were just trying to rest him up for the playoffs. So I'm not worried about that. Max Scherzer missed a little bit last year, nothing crazy. Peterson, I actually really like Peterson. And then Senga and Carrasco, solid pieces. That bullpen, I hope we pick up a couple extra arms. Santana, Negosic, Hunter, Curtis, kind of meh pieces. Drew Smith, Rayleigh, Ottavino, Robertson. I'm cool with those. I losing Lugo sucks.
Yes.
Losing Trevor May sucks.
Yes.
That bullpen's not as strong as it was last year, but I still think this is a team that can make some damage in baseball this year.
Yeah, and also hypothetically speaking, if knock on wood, one of the starters go down, we have an extra starter in the minor leagues named Tyler McGill, which is pretty good as well. Which he can be a decent long bullpen arm if need be. If they want to bring him up and replace him with replace Santana with him, it's not a bad option. Also, you got to keep in mind some bench bats. Tommy Pham is sitting on our bench. Luis Guillorme is on the bench. Tim LaCastro and Tomas Nido are all on the bench. So this is still a very strong team. And then I believe for injuries wise, not any big names other than Diaz are hurt right now, and Quintana. They also did make a trade in the offseason for Elijah Hernandez, but he's hurt as well. So overall, strong. Let's see how we're going to make money with this team. Season win total, 93.5. To make the playoffs, yes, minus 500, no, plus 350, plus 150 to win the National League East, plus 425 to win the National League, plus 850 to win the World Series. I do think this team wins 100 baseball games again this year. And I know Edwin Diaz losing him is going to hurt, but I think David Robertson's going to be just fine to be able to close games out. So I think this is a really strong team, and I still think this is a 100-win baseball team. I'm not going to bet them to win the National League East because I still think that's the Braves to lose. And until the Mets can prove to us that they can win the division, I'm not going to touch them there. And full disclaimer for the next two bets, I'm going full homer here. And it's the way it is because if they go on to do it, and I bet this every single year, so if they go on to do it, I don't want to not have a ticket. I'm going to take them to win the National League at 425, and I'm going to take them to win the World Series at plus 850. This is one of those where if they win it and I don't have it, I'll be pissed at myself. So I will grab them to win the World Series in the National League. But I do like the over 93.5.
That's fair. I'm typing up mine as we speak. I do think this team is going to have a really good year, and there's one player in specific that I think is going to have a crazy good year.
MVP?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly who I'm looking for. I'm looking for a couple of his props. Sorry, I should have had this typed up before.
Yeah. Also, if you're looking at player futures, I'll touch on that real quick. I would look at Alonso Lindor for MVP props. I would look at Kodai Senga, Rookie of the Year, at $10. And maybe you take David Robertson to get the most saves. As an interesting look because I think he will get opportunities to get saved.
Now, I'm just going to take the win total. I'm not going to touch – well, obviously, personally, I'll have World Series tickets and all that stuff because, once again, homer mode. But I'm not going to give it out because I want to be responsible with my betting. I'm having Alonso to have a huge year. Over 93.5 wins, and then Alonso MVP, Alonso most homers, Alonso most RBIs. I think this is going to be a monster year for Mr. Polar Bear. So if I'm going after anything, I'm going after Alonso, and I'm banking a lot on him. So Alonso, MVP, home runs, RBIs, Mets over the wins. I hope they do well. I hope they have a really, really good year this year. But am I betting division? No, it's Atlanta's division to lose. If anything, it would be wrong to say anything else. Atlanta's pretty much a lock to win the division. I'm not. They're not going to lose it. They've won it 5 straight years. Mets aren't getting it from them. I'm not grabbing. Well, I'll have personal tickets, but those are my futures for the Mets.
All right. That's about it for the Mets show. We are now done with MLB season previews. We will be having a show in about 2 hours for MLB opening day with Mr. Llama himself, Sean Higgs. So we will be going over that. I've already placed a few bets on tomorrow's games, and we'll be doing that. But I believe that's just about it for this show. One thing I have to play before we head out.
It's not always about the money, Spider-Man. It's about the Mets, baby. Love the Mets. All right, baby. Let's go. Get a home run, baby. Love the Mets. Let's go, Mets.
I wouldn't have lived for myself if I didn't play that there. But that's going to just about do it for this one. We want to thank you guys for watching the MLB season previews, and we look forward to this 2023 MLB season. It is tomorrow. We are less than 24 hours away from baseball. So let's get excited. Tonight, 8:30, MLB opening day show. We will be touching on baseball tomorrow, answering questions during the ESP show tomorrow, but it's still going to be a hockey and basketball show, just because time restraints type of thing, because I don't have 2 hours to do a show with all baseball games, all the hockey games, and the NBA, and there's really no point in starting that early, or we'd have to start an hour earlier, kind of, which maybe we might be doing a little bit with maybe starting shows at 9 a.m. With baseball, or starting with like the big hockey slates. The big hockey slates will be starting at 9:30 maybe. But until then, we will see you guys tonight, and we'll be opening day tomorrow. Good luck, guys.